All right, and we're live. Thanks for joining us today. This is the second episode of the Advisor Evolve podcast today. Very excited to have a guy who I've gotten to know better over the last couple of years, and a guy that you may already know. His name is Avery Manko from the Manko Company, which is a promotional items vendor here in PA that caters to the insurance industry. So if you're an independent agent watching this, you may already know who Avery Manko is, but I didn't actually realize that we live about 45 minutes away from each other and work about 15 minutes away from each other. So when I realized that, I reached out to Avery and I wanted to kind of pick his brain and just kind of meet him, because I've exchanged emails with him and I've ordered things from him before. So wanted to kind of reach out and get to know him a little bit. So I'm glad I was able to finally do that. And today we're lucky enough to have him on the show. He's got a great marketing mind and is a funny guy to be around as well. So with that, Avery, welcome to the show, man. Tell us a little bit about your industry and kind of where you are and how you got started in it, because I think a lot of people that may have already bought from you, that might be kind of interesting to them, just like it was to me. So what's the saying that you always start off with?
Well, I very often tell people, thanks, Chris, by the way, but I very often tell people that I'm I have a very unusual business in a not so unusual industry. And what I mean by that is that, there's a lot of people that sell promotional products. In fact, there's roughly 22,000 promotional products distributors, and that's basically what I am. 22,000 distributors in the country. But when I say that, I have a not so unusual business, well, what I mean by that is that I only work with insurance agents. That's it. We have, over the last 12 years, we have worked with around 1,800 insurance agents all over the country. And that's pretty much all we do. I've been in the industry for 22 of the last 25 years. I did spend some time as a commercial lines producer back in the late 90s, so I kind of have an idea of what you folks do. But I fell into working with the insurance agents in 2003 when one of my clients asked me to call her insurance agent, who wanted some insurance card holders, the little vinyl sleeves. And I said, sure, I can sell them, those items. So after that order, I realized, gosh, there's so many of them out there. And, this is a product that they consume. So I thought, gosh, let's go, head first into this. And, 12 years later, I have, like I said, roughly 1,800 insurance agents around the country as customers. And I thank my customers for that. I want to earn that, but anyway, so.
Definitely, man. That's cool. So you were actually a commercial lines producer at one point, but you weren't always just in selling to insure. Like, who were some of your other customers before you were in the insurance niche, or I guess how soon after you got into the business were you in the insurance niche? Was it right away, or were you just a general promotional items guy for a couple of years? Were you in the insurance industry really quickly after you were a producer and after you started the business?
Well, prior to me being a commercial lines producer, I was in the promotional products business, and I'd gotten out of it, and I went to work for a family friend as a commercial lines producer. So I was completely out of the industry during that time, the promotional products industry. And I had a non-compete that expired in 2000, and that's when I got back into the promotional products industry, and I was a general practitioner. And I would say that most of the folks that do what I do for a living, most folks are general practitioners. They sell to just about everybody. And I was no different. And even now I have, I don't know, 50 or so clients who are not in the promotional products industry. I'm sorry, not in the insurance industry. I have, some durable medical equipment client. I have some contractors. I have, all kinds of, one of my clients is a Domino's franchisee. So, but you know, my focus is on the insurance industry, and the reason for that is because you know I learn about how to market insurance agencies from helping people market their insurance agency. So
Right.
I hear what other folks are doing, you know, kind of like, you know, I have my ear to the ground. So I'm able to learn what they're doing to help other people market their agency. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that through the conversations that I've had with you, you know, I said, man, this guy, you know, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to marketing. And so, you know, me being sort of on the digital side of this, and trying to help agency owners learn the digital game and get online and, you know, drive traffic to their website and use
Right.
their website as a marketing tool. You know, you're sort of in the in the old school space still of, you know,
Totally.
promotional items. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of agency owners might be missing some of the, you know, important points, I think, of promotional items, and one of which is like you said a couple of times during our brief conversations before, is that, you know, the promotional items, you buy them one time and that message is in front of your customer repeatedly,
Sure.
and so it's one of the few marketing mediums where the dollar that you spend can last that long. So
Sure.
I don't know,
Yeah. I
what
mean,
do you have
look
to
at
add
where,
to that?
right. Look at where you and I live in the country. You know, we're in the Metro Philadelphia area. And, you know, if we advertised on KYW, could you imagine how expensive that would be? You know, KYW is a TV station, a radio station. And, you know, I can only imagine how much that costs. So you spend that ad once and that ad's gone, you know,
It's
and
gone. Yeah.
yeah, it's gone forever. So, you know, until you buy another ad, you know. So yeah, it's kind of funny how you and I have gotten together. I mean, you're like, you know, the new school, the cutting edge, all that stuff. I'm like, you know, old school. You know, you're high tech, I'm low tech, and but it's interesting how it kind of dovetails together though, because you know these promotional items, you know, people love to get free stuff, and if that
Yeah.
free stuff is helpful to the recipient in some fashion, whether it's a pen or a beer huggy or a hat or a bag or whatever, the recipient holds on to that. You don't hold on to a billboard. You don't hold on to a newspaper ad. You know, you don't carry around a radio ad in your pocket. You can't do that. You
Right.
know, and like I said in the blog, you don't write with a banana. You write with a pen or a
Yep.
pencil, what have you. So you know, if the free stuff is helpful to the recipient in some way, they're going to hang on to it.
Yep.
And so, therefore, your marketing message will be seen so many times. The cost of the product is infinitesimal. Promotional products are probably the only marketing medium that you could purchase that pays for or continues to pay for itself long after you've paid the bill. So,
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I think, you know, in that type of industry, I'm sure just like in the insurance industry, you know, you have customers that might say, oh, well, we can get it for, you know, X amount of dollars from this guy, or, you know, people might be price shopping on you. And what they don't realize is honestly is that those items, not only are they already paid for, but they're going to pay for themselves, you know, 20 times over, because the message is going to be there, you know, forever, repeatedly, until that person throws away the item.
yeah,
But like you
right,
said, people love free items. I mean, I've done, you know, seminars, and I've been to, you know, local events where, you know, people, they just show up just to get, you know, free calendars and free pens, and they literally walk
right,
around with a bag.
right,
And you know, the only reason that, if you're a financial advisor, you're watching this, or you're an insurance agency watching this, and you've actually been out to, you know, some type of event, and you had a booth at that event, and you're in there with the general public. I mean, the only reason that they want to come talk to the financial guys is because, you know, we have good promotional stuff to give away.
right.
So
Yeah,
it's funny, you know, people come in and it's like gangbusters, you know, they're like lining up with all these bags to get all this free stuff. So
right.
is very true. People love to get stuff for free,
Well,
even if it's like, a relatively inexpensive or cheap, plastic
right.
promotional item.
Yeah.
It's funny how people like to hang on to that stuff.
Right. Well, people don't line up to get pop-up ads.
Right.
Nobody sits around and watches TV and says, "Gosh, I wish they should be more commercials." You know what I mean? Nobody does.
Right.
Unless it's the Super Bowl. And you know what? I'm a marketing guy, so I frankly I like commercials. But for the most part, that's why there's a mute button on the remote control. That's why on the steering wheel of my car I have a mute button, so I don't have to listen to the stuff if I don't want to, or I could just change the channel. You like a pen or a bag or a jar opener or whatever. You can't unsubscribe one of those items.
Yeah.
You can't unsubscribe it. So, but anyway.
Definitely. So, and the message there, I think, really is, like you're saying, if it's a useful item, people aren't going to throw it away. Like, we actually did jar openers at an event one time, and most people didn't realize what they were. A lot of people thought they were coasters. And when we told them what they were, they immediately were like, "That's a great idea." Like, they were like so excited about a 25-cent jar opener that had our logo on it.
Right.
And it was just, funny, how it works like that.
Right. I do get a very common question that is, "Gosh, I want something new. I want something hot." Frankly, the stuff that's been around the longest, that's the stuff that works. I know it sounds, gosh, I don't know what it sounds like, but like an excuse. But the fact is the stuff that has been around forever is the stuff that works. Calendars have been around since, I think, like the mid 1800s. And people say, "Oh, well, people start using their cell phones and their smartphones and all that." That's actually a small percentage of people actually really do that. And the other thing is that calendars, it's the type of item that, a family has hanging up on the wall, and they write down all the kids' events and they coordinate schedules and all that. And it's right there and everybody can see.
Yep.
So, calendars are such an inexpensive way to promote that, like I said, they've been around for 150 years or so. And they're probably going to be around for another 150 years in some form.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because, I have an iPhone just like most of us do. And, I rarely ever use a calendar in my iPhone. It's always a physical calendar that's like on my refrigerator or in my house is where, we put all of our stuff. And if your brand can be there, that's a powerful thing. I mean, I think in the blog article, you mentioned something about, branded items being like conversation starters. And, that's definitely a big part of it as well. I know an agent out in Tucson, Arizona, who she has like an embroidered hat with her logo on it, and she wears it all around town. She's out running errands or whatever, and she's constantly having conversations with people who say, what company is that? Is that? And she's like, "Oh, this is my insurance agency," and all of a sudden, she's writing $5,000 in premium because she threw her hat on when she was out for a jog one day. I mean, it's just funny how that stuff really does happen, and how important that can be, to your brand, and also like your bottom line. I mean, that can be a pretty powerful thing.
Right. Well, you mentioned apparel. If you looked at a pie chart of the more effective promotional products that you could purchase, apparel by far is the largest. Apparel, people hang on to apparel, people wear it, and it's very visible. It tends to last longer, especially if you buy the right stuff, right shirts and hats and jackets and stuff. In fact, I mentioned the article about the guy that wrote the apartment complex. He was in line at a local supermarket. Guy behind him asked him about his agency or what have you, and they started a conversation, and it led to him quoting the business, and he wound up writing the business, all from being in the checkout line, and he had his polo shirt on.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and so it's very versatile. Like one of the the promotional products are, even though we're one of the oldest, we're one of the fastest growing mediums, because they're very versatile. Promotional products can target just about any demographic and any budget. Uh, so even if you're you own a small agency, and you don't have a big budget, buy a box of pens, get them scattered throughout town. You have to have a distribution plan. That's the most important thing, is the distribution plan. So you can't just let the box of pens sit in your supply closet. You have to get them out there. You have to have a plan to get those pens out there, whether it's pens or jar openers or chip clips or what have you. Um, but you have to have a distribution plan.
Yeah,
So
let's talk
otherwise,
about that for a second, because
yeah,
I bought stuff from you before, ID card
yeah,
holders and
yeah,
pill boxes and stuff like that. And it's
right.
funny because a lot of that stuff is still, like you're saying. I mean, I probably have 500 pill boxes from
Shame
some
on you.
event that we did
Shame
like
on you.
5 years ago that are still, sitting in my office just collecting
Right.
dust. And I think it's
Yeah.
important, like you're saying, to have
You
a
got to get
plan,
them.
because otherwise it's just wasted money. Like, what are some
Yeah,
things that,
definitely.
maybe people can do to like get those items out into people's hands? Like, what are you seeing any other agencies with like cool ideas that maybe we can borrow?
Well, you could use the U.S. mail. That's, and people gripe about the cost to mail stuff. Let me tell you something. If it costs $1.50 to mail a pill box across town, you can't drive there and spend your time to go deliver that pill box to somebody for $1.50. So it's still cheaper to
True.
mail it through the U.S. mail. If you're going to do something like that, wrap an idea around it. Explain why you're sending it to them. Whether, like you said, like a pill box, maybe you could put something inside it, like a piece of candy or something. But enclose a letter. The other thing is that you can use this. You and I discussed welcome kits. It's a dynamite idea.
Yep.
Just sending somebody. It could be a magnet. It could just be a little business card magnet that you enclose in the letter. And dear Mr. and Mrs. So and so, we appreciate you trusting us with your insurance needs. Enclosed as a magnet, please put it on your refrigerator so that you have our contact information should the need arises in an emergency or what have you. Who is not going to put that refrigerator magnet up on the refrigerator?
Right.
Everybody's going to do that. And the other thing you could do is maybe enclose two of them. And you say enclosed are two magnets, one for you and one for your neighbor. I'm sure you'd want your neighbor to have, our contact information in case you're not home and something happens. Ask your neighbor to put that up on the refrigerator as well.
Awesome idea. Awesome.
Yeah, and that way, it's a soft way to ask for a referral too, or to get a referral. So, so the U.S. mail is really a good way to do it, and I would be careful about sending things through the mail without checking with your local post office, because if you put a pen in a number 10 envelope and just mail it out, it's not going to get to where you're going to go, and it's going to you're going to ruin your postage. So you have to make sure it's in a bubble envelope and all that. So just make sure the post office is happy with mailing it, and there you're good to go. The other thing is like I mentioned about the bags, the grocery bags. Have them sitting around your office when somebody comes in, and you would just very simply say on their way out, hey Chris, here's a couple of these bags, and if you need any more, just feel free to stop by anytime. Or if somebody says, gosh, that's a great bag, tell them to come into my office. I'd love to give them some bags, and they can come by anytime, and get a bag. And that's again a soft way to ask for a referral, or rather to get a referral. So I would say the distribution plan, U.S. mail, handing them out yourself. Gosh, if you really want to stand out on a street corner and hand them out, go ahead and do that. I think that's kind of not a great idea, because you're just spraying and praying right there, and that's not really a good idea. But even, gosh, I know a guy who has something worked out with a car dealership group, and that he gets stadium cups, fills them with pens, and he goes down to the dealerships and puts the pens with the cups, puts them on the salespeople's desks. And I think he's going through quite a few of them. So because he
Awesome.
reorders frequently. So that's another way to get him out the door. Another thing is really have some sort of creative partnership with a referral partner, and to brainstorm on that, and who may be, there's the obvious referral partners, and then there's the not so obvious referral partners, and maybe somehow working something out with them where they could have your items at their counter, whether it's like a little calendar or like a pen or a magnet or chip clip or something like that they could give out for you at their business. So
that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too, like as an insurance agent, like mortgage brokers, realtors, stuff like that, people that would be in my, centers of influence, just to give some to them, just to keep for themselves. Even,
Right.
they would probably like that anyway. But
What about painting stores? Who goes into painting stores? People are fixing up their house. Painters go in there. So people who are moving in, people who are moving out. So that's an unusual. I know it may be a little bit of a stretch, but think creatively to come up with not so obvious referral partners.
Sure. No, that's a good point. So what are some of the, I guess, like hot items that you're seeing right now, or, what are some of the, what are some of your more popular items that you see kind of flying off the shelves?
Sure. Well, pens. I mean, that's a big part of the industry, are pens. And like I said, the idea of getting them out the door is the most important part. And you can very simply just put them in your pocket. If you're a lady, put them in your purse. And when you go out to eat, or you go to the post office or the dry cleaner or what have you, just hand them a couple pens and say, "Gosh, I'm sure you could use some extra pens." And I will guarantee you that they will thank you, because people steal their pens all the time. So, and that when you give them to them one time, that doesn't mean you can't go back to give them more, because
Right.
give them, when you go back the next week or the week after that, load them up with some more pens. The Bertucci's across the street from me, they used to call me the pen guy, because I used to go in there and hand them pens all the time.
That's awesome.
They didn't even know my name. They called me the pen guy. But so pens are always good, and you can always have them sitting around in a coffee mug at your desk if you have a lot of foot traffic or people coming in, because they'll take them. But that's kind of a slow way to distribute them. Another item, very popular item, are insurance card holders, little vinyl sleeves, and policy holders. And they're not very glamorous. Okay, they're really not. But you know what? People like to get them. When you hand them their insurance information, then the insured, you hand them their policy information or any documentation, fold it up, put in that vinyl sleeve. You look impressive. You look like you have your act together. Okay, and that you tell them, keep this in your glove box, and should you God forbid you get in an accident, or you get pulled over or what have you, you don't have to fumble through your glove box to find all this stuff. All you got to do is look for the little blue sleeve or the little green sleeve or whatever, and you have it right away. Here you go, officer. That way, you don't have to fumble for it. And then when it comes time for state inspection, I know not every state has inspections, but when you come to state inspection, again, you don't have to fumble for it. You can just give it right to the person, and there they have it. And then upon renewal, the insured gets the information from the insurance card, or the insurance card from the company. Again, they don't have to fumble through everything. They don't have to worry about finding the old one and putting the new one. They just all of a sudden they go bang, and they take the old one out, put the new one in, and then they have the current one available to them at a moment's notice. So insurance card holders, magnets, as I mentioned. I mean, they're little billboards. They're very inexpensive, and they're useful. I can tell you that at my parents' house, they lived in the same house since 1970. and their refrigerator is covered in refrigerator magnets for companies that are out of business. So the magnets lasted longer than the companies.
The
And
magnets outlasted the company.
right, but
That's
what's
awesome.
funny is, yeah, what's even funnier is last summer they got a new refrigerator. So what do? They took all the magnets down. They got the new refrigerator. They got the new refrigerator delivered, and then all the magnets went back up. So the magnets even lasted longer than the refrigerator. So magnets are a really dynamite way to market. I mentioned apparel. I mentioned bags. Bags I believe, are the #2 highest amount of impressions. So that's the cost of the bag will be infinitesimal by the time the bag finally wears out. And people hang on to bags; they don't throw them out. So those are some of the items. Jar openers, we mentioned them; they're a staple. They come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And you can use them creatively. Put a new twist on insurance or something like that. And people like that stuff. Yeah. So,
have you seen anybody getting or ordering any of those like small key fob? It's like you know what I'm talking about? Like you get them from the grocery store, you get them from the gym.
yeah, absolutely.
Is that like a hot thing right now, or are people not really on that?
No, I frankly, I sell a ton of those, and they're a very simple item that you would say to the insured, hey, here's this little key tag. It's got my name on this side, my number, and then you flip it around. Here's the insurance company and their claims number, and go ahead and put that on your key ring, and that way you have my information and you have the insurance company's information. God forbid you get in an accident or other, you'll have it right there at the ready. And I can tell you that with almost 100% certainty, they're going to put it on their key ring, and they're going to keep it there pretty much forever, just like all the other key tags on their key ring. So they'll have that there for a long time. And if you're a broker and you represent a lot of companies, I've had people put like their top 4 companies. So it would say, Acuity on one line, Progressive on another line, Travelers on another line, and some other company on another line. And they're top 4 carriers. And the other thing is that sometimes people get them from multiple carriers too. So
yeah, awesome, man. So your company, the Manko Company, if anyone has any interest in checking that out, man, where could we send people to look at some of your inventory, or they wanted to place an order? It's mankocompany.com, right?
Right. It's MANKO company all written out.com. Yeah, thanks, Chris. I appreciate you bringing
awesome.
that.
Yeah, and so I know you're like an awesome you have a great marketing mind. And I'm gonna kind of put you, I'm gonna kind of, what's that?
So do you.
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick, man. And I know that I know that you've read some cool marketing books. And as we close this thing up, what would you say your top 3 favorite marketing books are that you think independent agents would get some value from?
Well, I mean, the first one I don't even have to think about. It's Guerrilla Marketing by J. Conrad Levinson. It's been around for a long time, probably, at least 30 years. And I could tell you that after reading that, shortly after I got out of college, I thought, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me tell you something. The guy knows exactly what he's talking about. It's so basic. It's so perfect in its simplicity. It really is a great book. So I would say Guerrilla Marketing. It's an easy read too. Guerrilla Marketing, and I would say I'm a big fan of Jay Abraham. So if you Google
Jay Abraham is the man.
Yeah, he's really great, and of course Dan Kennedy. Pretty much anything he writes. Yeah, I got to tell you, the whole premise of guerrilla marketing is I hate to be cliche, but thinking outside of the box. See, the big companies have big budgets in the insurance industry. Look at Allstate, look at Nationwide, look at all the big companies. They have big budgets to hammer people with advertising. I mean, look at Geico. Geico and Esurance, they're trying to make buying insurance seemed fun. And frankly, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but nobody sits around on a Saturday afternoon and says, "Gosh, I got to get an insurance quote." They would rather cut their lawn. So
Right.
those companies are spending gazillions of dollars trying to make it seem like it's really fun to do this,
Totally.
which it might be. I don't know, but anyhow. So the premise of guerrilla marketing is to circumnavigate that. What do you have that they don't? Well, you have time. You have energy, you have creativity, you have imagination, and these are the things that you can use to combat those big budget those big ad budget companies.
Sure.
And so guerrilla marketing, Jay Abraham, Dan Kennedy. I would say those would be great places to start. So yeah,
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Avery, man, thank you very much for being on the show. And again, if you guys want to check out what Avery has, ID card holders, pens, whatever you're looking at, man, he has a huge inventory on his website, which is mankocompany.com. And yeah, thanks for being on the show, man. And we'll have to do this again one time. And maybe do like a part 2 to this and really dig a little bit deeper into some more of the marketing stuff. Because every time I start talking to you about this, man, I just start to geek out. And I know we have some more cool content that we could bring out here.
Yeah, great. Well, I appreciate you inviting me here, and I'm blown away by this. I really am glad and that you invited me to do this today. And so,
no doubt, man.
Yeah.
Cool, great. Man. Well, yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll have to do a part 2 soon.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.
All right, bud. You too, man. Later.